The Lernaean Hydra stands as one of the most iconic and terrifying creatures in Greek mythology. This fearsome serpent-like beast, known for its multiple heads and deadly regenerative powers, has captured the imagination of people for centuries. The Hydra's most famous appearance is in the myth of Heracles, Hercules, where it becomes a significant obstacle in the hero's quest to complete the 12 labors. These labors were assigned to Heracles as a form of penance for his past actions, and each task grew increasingly difficult. The Hydra's challenge stands out due to the beast's near invincibility and the profound symbolic meaning associated with its myth. The Hydra is more than just a monstrous creature. It represents the chaotic, uncontrollable forces of nature and the fear of the unknown. In a world where much of life was unpredictable and dangerous, the Hydra symbolized the ever-present threat of chaos, destruction, and death. Its depiction in myth was not merely as a physical beast, but as a force that had to be overcome with not just strength, but also wit and perseverance. The idea that every head cut from the Hydra would regrow 2 more makes it clear that the creature represents a problem that cannot be easily solved by brute force alone. It embodies the persistence of certain challenges that seem to grow and multiply the more they are confronted. Heracles' battle with the Hydra, then, becomes a metaphor for the struggle against life's intractable problems, the kinds of problems that seem to worsen when approached head-on. In this light, the Hydra is not just a mythological creature, but a potent symbol for the human condition, particularly the difficulties that arise when we try to control or subdue the chaotic forces around us. By delving into the origins, abilities, and symbolic meanings behind the Hydra, we uncover not only the essence of this fearsome creature, but also the deeper cultural anxieties it represents. In addition, its presence in both ancient and modern culture highlights how myths, particularly those as rich and multifaceted as the Hydra's, continue to resonate with and inform human thought. The origins of the Lernaean Hydra are rooted in the broader mythology of ancient Greece, where the creature is believed to have been born from the union of 2 of the most terrifying beings in the Greek pantheon, Typhon and Echidna. Typhon was a colossal figure, often described as a monstrous giant with 100 dragon heads, each capable of spitting fire and poison. He was considered the most dangerous of all creatures in Greek mythology, a direct threat to the gods themselves. Typhon's very existence symbolized chaos, destruction, and the raw, untamable power of nature. His mate Echidna was equally fearsome, known as the Mother of Monsters. She was half woman, half serpent, and gave birth to some of the most dangerous creatures in Greek myth, including the Chimera, Cerberus, and, of course, the Hydra. The union of Typhon and Echidna represents the combination of the 2 most chaotic and destructive forces in the Greek mythological world, making the Hydra a direct offspring of this terrifying power. It was said that Echidna gave birth to the Hydra in the swamps of Lerna, a place steeped in mythological significance. Lerna itself was considered one of the entrances to the underworld, a liminal space where the barrier between the world of the living and the dead was thin. In the ancient Greek worldview, swamps and marshlands were seen as mysterious, dangerous places, often associated with death and decay. These murky, mist-covered landscapes were thought to harbor dark and mystical forces, making them the perfect domain for a creature like the Hydra. The Hydra's very nature as a guardian of this eerie landscape further heightened its fearsome reputation. The connection between the Hydra and Lerna is also significant in a symbolic sense. Lerna was not just any place. It was believed to be one of the gateways to the underworld, a place where souls passed after death. The Hydra, residing in this ominous, swampy domain, was thus not only a physical threat, but also a spiritual one. Its association with death and the underworld reinforced its symbolic role as a creature that stood between life and death, a guardian of dark, unknowable forces. The Hydra was not simply a mindless beast, but a representation of the existential fears that humans have faced throughout history. Fears of death, decay, and the chaotic forces that lie beyond human understanding. Moreover, the Hydra's birth from Typhon and Echidna, two of the most powerful and dangerous figures in Greek mythology, gave the creature an inherent connection to chaos and destruction. It was not just a product of these forces, but a living embodiment of them, making it a creature that was not only to be feared physically, but also symbolically. In this way, the Hydra's origins tell us much about how the ancient Greeks viewed the world around them, as a place filled with danger and uncertainty, where the forces of chaos and destruction were always present, lurking just beyond the edge of the known world. The Lernaean Hydra is perhaps best known for its terrifying physical form, which in many ways symbolized the chaotic and unpredictable nature of the world. In its earliest depictions, the Hydra was portrayed as a gigantic serpent with multiple heads, though the exact number of heads varied across different accounts. Some ancient sources describe the Hydra as having 9 heads, while others suggest it had as many as 50 or even 100. However, the most widely accepted version of the myth, particularly the one associated with Heracles' 12 labors, gives the Hydra 9 heads, 8 of which were mortal and 1 that was immortal. The Hydra's heads are perhaps its most distinctive and terrifying feature. Each time one of the Hydra's heads was severed, 2 new heads would grow in its place. This regenerative ability made the Hydra an almost invincible opponent, as any attempt to destroy it would only make it more powerful and dangerous. This aspect of the creature's form is deeply symbolic, representing the idea of problems or challenges that seem to multiply and grow stronger when confronted. In this way, the Hydra became a symbol of the persistence of evil or chaos, a force that could not be easily defeated through brute strength alone. In addition to its regenerative abilities, the Hydra was also connected to water, which in ancient Greek thought was often associated with chaos, the unknown, and the primordial forces of nature. The Hydra's serpent-like form linked it to the world of serpents and dragons, creatures that were often seen as embodiments of the chaotic forces of nature. Serpents in particular were symbols of both death and rebirth due to their ability to shed their skins and seemingly regenerate. This connection between the Hydra and serpents further reinforced its symbolic role as a creature of chaos, death, and the cyclical nature of life. The Hydra's domain, the swamps and marshes of Lerna, was also a significant part of its characterization. Swamps were places of mystery and danger, where the line between life and death was blurred. The Hydra, residing in such a place, was a creature that embodied the dangers of the unknown, lurking in the dark, mist-covered waters of Lerna, ready to strike at anyone who ventured too close. The Hydra's connection to water and serpents also tied it to the broader mythological concept of the primordial sea, which was often associated with chaos and the unknown in ancient Greek thought. In this way, the Hydra represented not only a physical threat, but also a symbolic one, embodying the fears and uncertainties that the ancient Greeks had about the natural world and the forces that lay beyond their understanding. The Linnaean Hydra's terrifying abilities extended far beyond its physical appearance and regenerative powers. In fact, what made the Hydra such a formidable opponent was not just its many heads, but its lethal and almost supernatural traits. The Hydra's most well-known ability was its regenerative power, where every time one of its heads was severed, two more would grow back in its place. This trait made the Hydra an almost unbeatable adversary. Any attempt to kill it only made it stronger, more dangerous, and more resilient. The Hydra's regenerative ability can be seen as symbolic of challenges or problems that grow more difficult the more one tries to solve them, a theme that has echoed throughout various cultures and eras. However, the Hydra's powers went beyond regeneration. The creature's very breath was said to be deadly, capable of killing anyone who inhaled it. This toxic breath added another layer of danger to the creature, making it not only a physical threat, but a poisonous one as well. Anyone who got too close to the Hydra would be in danger of death, not just from its fangs or its multiple heads, but from the very air it breathed. This added to the sense of inevitability and doom that surrounded the Hydra, as it represented a force that was not only dangerous to confront, but lethal simply to approach. The Hydra's blood and venom were equally potent, further enhancing its deadly reputation. The creature's venom was so powerful that even its scent was said to be fatal, bringing death to anyone who ventured too close to its lair. Heracles, after defeating the Hydra, famously used its venom to poison his arrows, turning them into lethal weapons that could kill any enemy. This venom became one of the key elements of Heracles' later adventures, symbolizing the lasting impact of the Hydra's deadly powers. Even in death, the Hydra's influence persisted, as its venomous blood continued to be a force of destruction long after the creature had been defeated. The combination of these deadly traits made the Hydra not just a physical threat, but a representation of death itself. Its poisonous breath, blood, and venom all reinforced the idea that the Hydra was a force of death, creeping silently and inevitably toward those who dared to come too close. The Hydra's connection to death and decay, combined with its regenerative powers, made it a powerful symbol of the forces that lie beyond human control. Forces that, like the Hydra's heads, could not be easily defeated or subdued. The Hydra's connection to water also played a significant role in its characterization. In many ancient cultures, water was seen as both a life-giving force and a symbol of chaos and destruction. The Hydra, dwelling in the swamps of Lerna, was closely linked to this duality. It represented the unpredictable and dangerous aspects of nature, particularly the fear of drowning or being overwhelmed by forces beyond human control. This connection to water, combined with its snake-like form, also linked the Hydra to other ancient serpent myths, where snakes were often seen as symbols of death, rebirth, and the cyclical nature of life. Overall, the Hydra's extraordinary abilities, including its regenerative power, poisonous breath, and deadly venom, made it one of the most dangerous and fearsome creatures in Greek mythology. Its powers were not just physical, but symbolic, representing the inevitable and insidious forces of death, decay, and destruction that could not be easily overcome. The battle between Heracles and the Linnaean Hydra is one of the most famous and important episodes in Greek mythology. Heracles, the greatest of all Greek heroes, was tasked with defeating the Hydra as part of his 12 labors, a series of nearly impossible tasks that he was required to complete as penance for his past deeds. The second of these labors was to kill the Hydra, a challenge that would test not only Heracles' strength, but also his ingenuity and perseverance. The battle took place in the swamps of Lerna, where the Hydra resided. Upon arriving at the creature's lair, Heracles quickly realized that defeating the Hydra would be far more difficult than he had anticipated. Armed with his club and sword, Heracles began his attack by lopping off one of the Hydra's many heads. However, to his horror, two new heads immediately sprouted from the stump of the severed one. As Heracles continued to decapitate the Hydra's heads, he found himself facing an ever-increasing number of them, each one more fearsome and dangerous than the last. Heracles soon realized that sheer strength alone would not be enough to defeat the Hydra. Every time he cut off one of its heads, two more would grow back in its place, making the creature even more dangerous. Understanding that he could not defeat the Hydra through brute force alone, Heracles called upon his nephew Iolaus to assist him in the battle. Iolaus, a skilled charioteer and loyal companion to Heracles, devised a clever plan to stop the Hydra's heads from regenerating. Iolaus suggested using fire to cauterize the stumps of the Hydra's severed heads, preventing new ones from growing back. Heracles, seeing the wisdom in this plan, began cutting off the Hydra's heads, while Iolaus followed closely behind with a burning torch, cauterizing each stump as soon as a head was removed. This strategy proved effective, and Heracles and Iolaus were able to stop the Hydra's regenerative powers. However, the battle was far from over. The Hydra's final and most dangerous head, the one that was immortal, posed the greatest challenge. This head could not be killed by any means, as it was impervious to weapons and fire. Realizing that he could not destroy the head, Heracles decided to bury it beneath a massive rock, trapping it for all eternity. By doing so, he effectively neutralized the Hydra's threat, completing his second labor and proving not only his strength, but also his resourcefulness. The battle between Heracles and the Hydra was more than just a physical confrontation. It was a symbolic struggle between order and chaos, life and death. The Hydra, with its many heads and regenerative abilities, represented the forces of chaos and destruction that threatened to overwhelm the known world. Heracles, by defeating the Hydra, symbolized the triumph of human ingenuity and perseverance over these seemingly insurmountable challenges. Heracles' victory over the Hydra also had lasting consequences. After the battle, Heracles dipped his arrows in the Hydra's poisonous blood, turning them into deadly weapons that would later play a crucial role in his other adventures. In this way, the Hydra's influence continued to be felt long after its defeat, symbolizing the persistence of the chaotic forces it embodied. Ultimately, the battle between Heracles and the Hydra stands as one of the most iconic and enduring myths in Greek mythology, representing the eternal struggle between good and evil, order and chaos. It is a story of perseverance, ingenuity, and the triumph of the human spirit over the forces that seek to destroy it. The symbolism of the Lernaean Hydra is deeply rooted in themes of chaos, regeneration, and the endless struggle against overwhelming odds. The Hydra's ability to regenerate heads after they are cut off is one of its most defining traits. But this characteristic also carries significant symbolic weight. In the ancient Greek worldview, the Hydra represented challenges that were not only persistent, but also self-perpetuating, growing more difficult and complex the more one tried to confront them. This idea of problems that become more insurmountable as they are tackled reflects a broader human experience that transcends time and culture. In the context of Greek mythology, the Hydra is often seen as a symbol of chaos and the uncontrollable forces of nature. The ancient Greeks lived in a world where the natural environment could be both a source of life and a threat to survival. The Hydra, with its connection to water and its serpent-like form, embodies the duality of nature as both nurturing and destructive. Its regenerative abilities represent the cyclical nature of life and death, growth and decay. The ancient Greeks, who revered the balance between these forces, saw the Hydra as a manifestation of the chaotic elements of existence, those that could not be easily tamed or understood. The Hydra's ability to regenerate heads can also be interpreted as a metaphor for resilience in the face of adversity, albeit in a twisted and malevolent form. Each time a head is cut off, two more grow in its place, suggesting that some problems or challenges not only persist but become stronger when confronted. This concept resonates in many aspects of human life, from personal struggles to societal and political issues. It speaks to the idea that some obstacles are not easily defeated and may require more than just brute force or simple solutions to overcome. Moreover, the Hydra's venomous nature adds another layer to its symbolism. Poison has long been associated with treachery, corruption, and insidious threats that can harm or kill without direct confrontation. The Hydra's breath, blood, and venom were deadly, capable of bringing death to anyone who came near it. This makes the Hydra a symbol not just of overt physical danger, but also of the more subtle, pervasive threats that can undermine even the strongest efforts. The idea of a creature whose very presence is poisonous underscores the concept of corruption and decay, forces that can infiltrate and destroy from within, much like how poison spreads through a body. In the broader context of Greek mythology, the Hydra's defeat by Heracles was not just a victory over a physical monster, but a symbolic triumph over chaos, destruction, and the insurmountable challenges that life often presents. Heracles, as a hero, represented the human capacity to impose order on a chaotic world, to confront and overcome the dangers that lie beyond the boundaries of civilization. The Hydra, with its many heads and its regenerative powers, was the epitome of these dangers, seemingly endless and impossible to defeat. By slaying the Hydra, Heracles symbolized the triumph of human ingenuity and perseverance over the destructive forces that threaten to overwhelm us. The Hydra's symbolism, therefore, is multifaceted. It represents not only the persistence of challenges, but also the danger of corruption, the unpredictability of life, and the need for careful, strategic action when confronting problems. The Hydra is not merely a creature of myth, but a reflection of the deeper anxieties and uncertainties that have always been a part of the human experience. In ancient Greece, the Hydra was more than just a fearsome opponent for Heracles. It was a manifestation of the unpredictable and often malevolent forces of nature. The swamps of Luna, where the Hydra resided, were seen as dangerous and mysterious places filled with treacherous waters and hidden dangers. The ancient Greeks believed that certain areas, particularly swamps and marshlands, were places where the line between life and death was blurred. These liminal spaces, where the earth met the water, were thought to harbor dark and mystical forces. The Hydra, as a guardian of these swamps, became a symbol of the dangers that lay beyond the known world. The Hydra's many heads, which multiplied when cut, symbolized the idea that some problems only grow worse when confronted directly. This made the Hydra an apt metaphor for struggles that seem insurmountable, where each attempt to solve a problem only leads to more complications. The Hydra was not just a physical threat to Heracles, but a representation of the chaotic and uncontrollable aspects of life that the ancient Greeks believed were an inevitable part of the human experience. The regenerative ability of the Hydra, where 2 heads would grow back for every one that was cut off, also carried significant symbolic weight. This trait represented the idea of resilience in the face of adversity, but in a twisted, almost malignant form. The Hydra's heads, multiplying each time they were cut, suggested that some challenges are not just persistent, but can actually become stronger when opposed. This concept can be seen in various aspects of life, such as social or political issues that seem to become more complex and difficult to resolve the more they are addressed. In this way, the Hydra became a symbol of the chaotic and uncontrollable forces that humans must contend with in their lives. Moreover, the Hydra's connection to poison, its venomous breath and blood, added another layer to its symbolism. Poison has long been associated with treachery, corruption, and insidious dangers that can harm or kill without direct confrontation. The Hydra's venomous nature suggested that some threats are not just overt and physical, but also subtle and pervasive, spreading harm in ways that are not immediately visible. That made the Hydra a powerful symbol of corruption and decay, representing dangers that can infiltrate and undermine from within, much like how poison spreads through a body. In the broader context of Greek mythology, the Hydra's defeat by Heracles was seen as a triumph of order over chaos, of civilization over the wild and untamed forces of nature. Heracles, as a hero, represented the human capacity to impose order on a chaotic world, to confront and overcome the dangers that lurk in the shadows. The Hydra, with its many heads and its regenerative abilities, was the epitome of these dangers, seemingly endless and impossible to defeat. By slaying the Hydra, Heracles symbolized the victory of human ingenuity and perseverance over the destructive forces that threatened to overwhelm us. This made the myth of the Hydra not just a story of a hero's triumph, but also a metaphor for the human struggle against the often overwhelming challenges of life. In the context of ancient Greek thought, the Hydra represented the darker, more dangerous aspects of the natural world. The swamps of Lerna, where the Hydra made its home, were symbolic of the boundary between life and death, a place where the natural and supernatural worlds intersected. The Hydra, with its venomous breath and regenerative abilities, was a guardian of this boundary, representing the chaos and danger that lay beyond the realm of human understanding. The Hydra's many heads, which multiplied when cut off, were also symbolic of the challenges that humans face in life. The creature represented the idea that some problems only grow worse when confronted, and that attempting to defeat them can sometimes lead to new, even greater challenges. This made the Hydra a powerful metaphor for the persistence of chaos and disorder in the world, and for the difficulties that humans face when trying to impose order on the natural world. The Hydra's defeat by Heracles, therefore, was not just a victory over a physical monster, but a symbolic triumph over the forces of chaos and destruction. Heracles, as a hero, represented the human ability to confront and overcome even the most insurmountable challenges. The Hydra, with its many heads and its regenerative powers, symbolized the chaotic forces that threaten to overwhelm humanity. By slaying the Hydra, Heracles demonstrated that even the most persistent and dangerous challenges can be overcome with strength, perseverance, and ingenuity. In this way, the myth of the Hydra became a powerful symbol of the human struggle against the forces of chaos and destruction, a struggle that continues to resonate with audiences to this day. The Lernaean Hydra's influence extends far beyond the confines of Greek mythology, leaving an indelible mark on modern culture in a variety of forms. The Hydra's lasting legacy speaks to the power and versatility of myth, as it has been adapted and reinterpreted across different time periods and cultural contexts. From literature and film to psychology and politics, the Hydra continues to serve as a potent symbol of resilience, chaos, and the struggle against overwhelming odds. In literature, the Hydra often serves as a metaphor for complex and intractable problems, particularly those that seem to grow worse the more one tries to solve them. This metaphor is especially potent in political and social commentary, where the Hydra represents issues like corruption, terrorism, or systemic inequality. These Hydra-headed problems resist easy solutions, mirroring the mythological creature's regenerative abilities. In this context, the Hydra is not just a monster, but a symbol of the challenges that societies face when confronting deeply entrenched issues. This literary use of the Hydra allows authors and commentators to explore the complexities of modern life, where every action can have unintended consequences and simple solutions are often inadequate. The Hydra's presence in popular literature is also prominent in the fantasy genre, where it often appears as a formidable adversary for heroes to overcome. Writers like J.K. Rowling and Rick Riordan have incorporated the Hydra into their works, using it to add layers of danger and tension to their stories. In these narratives, the Hydra is usually depicted as a nearly invincible beast, its many heads and regenerative powers making it a symbol of the relentless and overwhelming nature of evil. This use of the Hydra taps into the creature's mythological roots, while also allowing authors to explore themes of heroism, sacrifice, and the struggle against seemingly impossible odds. In film and television, the Hydra has been adapted in various ways, often serving as a powerful antagonist in fantasy and adventure stories. One of the most well-known modern interpretations of the Hydra is its appearance in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, MCU, where it is reimagined as a sinister organization named Hydra. This organization, much like the mythological beast, is depicted as a pervasive and resilient threat, one that grows stronger and more dangerous each time it is attacked. The use of the Hydra in this context not only pays homage to the original myth, but also reflects contemporary fears about the persistence of evil and the challenges of combating deeply entrenched corruption and tyranny. The MCU's Hydra organization is emblematic of how the Hydra myth can be adapted to fit modern narratives, transforming the creature's physical attributes into symbolic representations of modern threats. The organization's motto, "Cut off one head, two more shall take its place," directly references the Hydra's regenerative abilities and reinforces the idea that some threats are almost impossible to eradicate. This modern reinterpretation of the Hydra myth has been highly successful, resonating with audiences who recognize the parallels between the fictional organization and real-world issues like terrorism, authoritarianism, and the challenges of fighting against systemic corruption. In video games, the Hydra often appears as a challenging boss character, one that requires players to think strategically to defeat. Games like God of War and Dark Souls feature the Hydra as a formidable enemy, drawing on its mythological traits to create a sense of dread and urgency. In these games, the Hydra's regenerative powers and multiple heads are translated into gameplay mechanics, where players must find creative ways to defeat the beast, often by targeting its vulnerabilities or using specific strategies to prevent it from regenerating. This use of the Hydra in video games highlights the creature's role as a symbol of resilience and challenge, forcing players to adapt and overcome in order to succeed. The Hydra's influence also extends into the realm of psychology, where it is used as a metaphor for dealing with complex and recurring psychological issues. In this context, the Hydra represents problems like anxiety, trauma, or addiction, which can often feel like they multiply and grow stronger when confronted directly. The concept of a Hydra-headed problem in psychology suggests that some issues require more than just surface-level solutions. They need to be addressed at their root, with a comprehensive approach that prevents them from resurfacing in new forms. This psychological interpretation of the Hydra reflects the creature's symbolic connection to the idea of persistent challenges that require careful and strategic handling. In the political sphere, the Hydra is often invoked as a symbol of the difficulties in eradicating deeply rooted corruption or systemic problems. Political commentators and analysts might describe certain issues as Hydra-like, to emphasize their complexity and the way they resist resolution. For example, efforts to dismantle organized crime, fight terrorism, or address institutional corruption can often feel like battling a Hydra, where each victory leads to new challenges. This political use of the Hydra metaphor underscores the creature's enduring relevance as a symbol of resilience and the often frustrating nature of efforts to bring about meaningful change. The Hydra's symbolic power also extends to discussions of technology and modern warfare. In the digital age, the Hydra has been used as a metaphor for cyber threats, where attacks and vulnerabilities seem to multiply the more they are addressed. Just as the Hydra's heads grow back stronger after being cut off, cyber threats can adapt and evolve, making them difficult to eliminate entirely. This modern interpretation of the Hydra reflects the challenges of living in a world where technology and security are constantly evolving, and where new threats can emerge as quickly as old ones are neutralized. In contemporary art and media, the Hydra continues to be a powerful symbol, representing the themes of persistence, complexity, and the struggle against overwhelming odds. Artists and creators often use the Hydra's image to explore these themes in new and innovative ways, whether through visual art, literature, or digital media. The Hydra's enduring presence in modern culture speaks to its versatility as a symbol, one that can be adapted to fit a wide range of narratives and contexts. The Hydra's impact on modern culture is a testament to the power of myth and the ways in which ancient stories continue to resonate with contemporary audiences. The creature's symbolic associations with chaos, resilience, and the persistence of evil make it a compelling figure in both historical and modern narratives. Whether as a metaphor for psychological challenges, a symbol of political corruption, or a formidable adversary in fantasy stories, the Hydra remains a potent reminder of the complexities of life and the challenges that come with confronting the unknown. The story of the Linnaean Hydra highlights the timeless relevance of mythology, as its themes of chaos, death, and regeneration continue to find resonance in the modern world. The Hydra's legacy is not confined to ancient Greece, but has expanded into new and diverse areas, each time adapting to reflect contemporary concerns and values. In literature, the Hydra serves as a symbol of persistent problems that defy simple solutions, while in film and video games, it often represents the physical manifestation of evil that must be defeated by the hero. The Hydra's influence extends even into areas such as psychology and politics, where its regenerative abilities are used as a metaphor for the challenges of overcoming deeply ingrained issues. whether it is anxiety, corruption, or technological threats. The Hydra's heads serve as a reminder that some challenges require more than just brute force to overcome. This enduring symbolism speaks to the power of the Hydra as a cultural icon, one that continues to inspire, challenge, and provoke thought. In conclusion, the Lernaean Hydra's legacy in modern culture is vast and multifaceted, reflecting the creature's deep symbolic resonance across different fields and contexts. From literature and film to psychology and politics, the Hydra continues to serve as a powerful symbol of the challenges that persist in the face of adversity, the dangers of underestimating complex problems, and the need for perseverance and strategic thinking in the face of overwhelming odds. Its presence in modern culture underscores the timeless nature of myth and the ways in which ancient stories continue to inform and inspire contemporary thought. The Hydra's enduring influence is a testament to the power of mythology to transcend time and culture, offering insights and symbols that remain relevant to this day.